Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flux here with a top 10 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. But before I talk to you about that, I'd like to talk to you about the film journal I publish. This is the 31-day horror movie challenge. It challenges you to watch 31 horror movies, all of your choice, with a specific challenge heading, such as a killer doll movie. Then you're going to be asked 3 questions that are standard across the board. What works, what doesn't, and who made it? But then you'll be asked 3 questions unique to each specific challenge. Challenge one, for the Killer Doll Challenge, the one question is, how does the movie use or contrast childlike innocence? You'll be asked 2 other questions similar to that. If this is something that you're interested in, you like to watch and engage with film criticism, this is the book for you. You can pick it up through Amazon, the link for which will be in the description box down below. But moving on, this is my top 10 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. Now I'm going to be up front right away and say that some episodes that you really love are probably not going to be on this list, because I'm not a huge Borg guy, I'm not a huge Data fan, so if you're really looking for a Data-centric list or a Borg-heavy list, you're not going to find it here. There will not be Best of Both Worlds, there will not be really any Data-focused episodes. It's just not my thing. That said, this is my list, and I'm going to give it to you in descending order. So in the number 10 spot, we have Final Mission. This is the swan song episode of Wesley Crusher, where we get to see how he has grown as a character. It was a nice, refreshing episode to see this character being sent off and is sort of establishing his own agency, or being recognized at the agency that he's established for himself by the end of the episode by Picard, who was very disdainful of this boy in the first season, how much he has grown since then. It's a powerful episode, and one that I really, really quite like. In the number 9 spot, we have Disaster. Disaster, as I mentioned in my series recap, is one that reminded me very heavily of my favorite episode of Firefly, Out of Gas. In this, disaster strikes the Enterprise, separating the crew, and we see how the crew uses their wits to survive this terrible event. And you get to see characters that are unique constructions of characters that you wouldn't necessarily pit next to each other during this event, and I really, really enjoyed that. It is kind of a nail-biter, even if you know how a lot of these characters survive and are in next episodes. It's still a compelling watch. The number 8 spot has Where Silence Has a Lease. This is very similar to an original series episode titled The Corbomite Maneuver. This just kind of takes that same core concept, but what would Picard do in that place rather than Captain Kirk? And you see how these 2 captains navigate a very similar situation entirely differently. And it's a powerful episode, one that I really like. You'll find that the ones that I really, really gravitate towards are the ones of heavy moral quandary. And this sort of has that element to it. In my number 7 spot is Family. This dialogue-heavy driven episode that really dissects family dynamics between the different characters, and we see that explored with 3 characters that have talked about their family in the past but have never really been explored. We really get to see that happen. It's a very strong episode, and that's coming right off the Best of Both Worlds. I think it's infinitely better than both parts of that story. I will admit that it works in part because of that story, but Family is one that ought not to be overlooked. It's really good. Number 6 spot is Tapestry. Tapestry has Picard confront his own mortality and takes a sort of journey in the afterlife with Q, and looks back at his early days when he was more roguish than he is. Much more similar to Kirk than a Picard. And It is a great exploration of the character of Picard, every bit as much as it is an interesting character perspective on Q. Number 5 spot is Skin of Evil. I really like this episode. I know a lot of people don't, but I like how this one explores the concept of death. When random, pointless, needless death befalls one of the Enterprise crew with Tasha Yar, who is a great character, just needlessly killed off, and how that affects Riker, how that affects Picard, how that affects Deanna Troi, who's the one that they're trying to save in the first place. I like the monster. He's very visually interesting, and I like the how it feels like an original series episode just done next gen style. I liked it. Number 4, Q Who, the episode that introduces us to the Borg. It's really good episode where we get to see this threat that is looming that was mentioned once in season 1. We finally get to see it in season 2 as a tease from Q of all people about what is to come. It has that deep sense of foreboding even at its end, but you get to see how the Enterprise faces down with some creature that they are completely ill-equipped to handle, and how they use their wits to navigate that situation. It is good. You have, in the number 3 spot, Lower Decks, where you get to see a ground level view of the characters that are all main characters. We see 4 cadets and how they interact with our main characters, and as they seek promotion. And it starts fun, it starts funny, it gets powerfully, palpably emotional, and I love this episode. I can't stress enough how much I like it. In my number 2 spot is Yesterday's Enterprise. This one honestly could interchange with the first place winner. The moral complexity of this episode is astonishingly strong. It revives a character with Tasha Yar, but Guinan, this is a Guinan sort of focused episode. She knows this isn't the right world, the right reality, but going back to it means that she knows that character is going to die, and then feels compelled to sort of let that be known to Tasha, and this becomes a Tasha episode. It gives weight to her needless death, because now she has something to die for, and it's, oh my gosh, it's a powerful episode, a powerful conclusion, and I like how it also draws in, as did Tapestry, the visual, like, costuming and ship decor of previous generations in the Star Trek movies. That's really cool too. Big fan. Then we have my favorite episode, All Good Things. I think this is one of the best episodes of Star Trek, full stop, period. It is good storytelling, and you follow Picard in 3 different timelines. His current trajectory at the end of season 7, his right before season 1 starts trajectory when he's about to take on the captaincy of the Enterprise, and then 25 years in the future, where he's an old man dying of a dread disease. And what makes this even better is, without realizing it at the time, this is giving you a start point, a possible end point, which this story is, but also giving us foreshadowing into the future where the show ultimately actually is going to end with Star Trek Picard. And it's kind of neat how it ties those 3 specific timelines all into one story, really beautifully so. And I love it. It has great character work with not only Patrick Stewart's Jean-Luc Picard, but it has great stuff with Riker, great stuff with Worf, great stuff with Q. Q is put to his best use in this episode, I would argue. And when he shows us the sludge that is the first life of any kind, that was kind of, or humankind anyway, that was really cool. It's great. It has solid action beats, and it's my favorite episode of the show. What is your top 10 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation? I know that I'm going to be missing a lot of people's favorites, and I'm okay with that. Let me know what your top are in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.